Let's see. Do I have this Twitch thing? Twitch. There's that. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Time is it? Did I make it? I know I made it. Okay. So just give me a second. Just give me a second. Yes, I'm comfier. 1 minute early. Yep. That's how I roll. It's actually not. Okay. So how did this end up being what is going on? So the problem with this page is it is on full screen. So I need to make that smaller. There we go. Okay. And then this here, I can go like this. Let's see. There we go. So put this over so I don't look at myself. That makes it way easier. Okay, let's see. Almost there, almost there. Almost there. Long time no see. Okay, so is my guitar loud enough? Let's see. All right. Okay, almost there. Almost there. More light, it says. Okay, hang on a second. Did that help? Did that help? Better. Okay, great. All right. Okay, so let's start. Let's start. Let there be light. Yes, there he is. Listening to your Infinity podcast, I was wondering why you were comfortable playing these songs, but were uncomfortable playing the SYL songs. That's a good question. Let me think about it. Because I think the primary motivation for the Infinity stuff was rooted in something that I viewed as positive, even though the lessons that came from that period were difficult. Its head was at least pointed in a direction that if I continued down that lineage of thought, I would end up at a place where I am now. And I think the opposite is true for strapping. I felt that if I focused on that material at that time, the subconscious drive to make that what it wants to be would lead me to places that would not be where I am right now. All right. Audio is better in this spot too. Okay, great. Let's see. Do you think 9 to 5, 8 to 5 in my case, corporate culture is a bad thing? I don't know. I'm in a weird frame of mind today. I had dreams last night that were crazy. It was, I was on a boat and we went into this area of the ocean that just had massive waves. But on either side of it was just still like glass like water. And the transition between the glass like water and the waves was immediate. And on either side of it, and the thought that I had when we got out the other side is, man, all the stress that you had during this period of these big catastrophic oceanic waves was wasted energy because you're okay on the other side of it. Yeah, man, the whole thing has been crazy. Past couple of days has been crazy. I'm going to do the Terrier one today, and it's just my hope again is that by doing them, the path that all this has followed is of help as opposed to hindrance. All right, so let's see. Do you feel that doing the podcast helps or hurts? I'd like to think it helps. What do you guys think? Let me just see here. Okay. Why is Mike Keneally so amazing? Because he is a genius who uses his powers for good. It's dark but good. Love the podcast. Thanks for being so honest. Yeah. Podcasts are amazing. I think the biggest thing with it is the whole process. I'm trying to think here this morning. It's weird. I think the whole process of doing these podcasts is ultimately about showing that process and seeing if it can get me now into this next moth project that I'm trying to do. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to play guitar for a couple of minutes, if that's okay. I got nothing interesting to say today. Thank you. We want to party on Discord isolation. I've started a Discord. I'm just trying to figure out how to make it work because I got all these things going on, and every now and then I find that I just run out of interest in being me professionally. What guitar effects am I using here? I'm using Axe 8, the Fractal unit, and I'm hoping one day I get their new FM3 because it's smaller. But it's a clean guitar with a lot of compression, and I have a wah. I created a patch for it with Matt, and actually he put up something on the Fractal site the other day that has this wah on it. There's no auto, or it's an auto engage, but there's no transition between the off and on, right? So if you listen here, I'll go from off to on. It's like, oh, you can actually hear transition there, but so I can use it much more like a tone. And then I've got like an analog delay, about 700 milliseconds. It's a bit of a warble at the end, no high end on it, a lot of repeats, and then into like 10-second reverb, and then into a delay, like a ping pong delay, right? Yeah, my ear does naturally gravitate to Lydian. I had a cat I called Lydian. So the wah trick, somebody asks what that is. I mean, it's on their site now, and it was Matt's idea. I can't take credit for it, but basically, it's a parallel volume that is also auto-engaged, but it's set so that the volume acts as almost like a crossfade at the spot in the auto-engaged wah where it comes in. So it's like the transition between the off and the on has got this little volume block that just smooths it out, and it's just like... And I was actually asking Dunlop a while back if they could actually put that into a wah, but it just seems much easier to do it digitally. So if you go to the Fractal site, they've got that there. Last 15 minutes of podcast number 3. Hope you're doing well. What does Automakai from Heaven's End mean? Automakai. I don't remember. I'll remember by the time I get to the key one. What scale length is that telly? Yeah, it's 25.5. What's your favorite King's X album? Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. Do you also feel tired all the time? Not all the time, but a lot of the time. Exercise helps. Meditation helps. Let's see. Trying to get through all these. What's your musical journey that you're about to take after Empath? I think a lot of the reason why I've been doing these podcasts is to try and make some sort of an illustration for myself of where I end up after Empath. I think a lot of where my problems have lay as an artist is not having the peripheral vision to understand where I'm at while it's happening. It's like I can only see in hindsight or at the very end of a process. And as the case with any of these records, like Ocean Machine or Terria or anything, I now have insight as to what the Moth wants to be. And I am convinced that the ending, which seems to have presented itself, is not actually the ending. But it also contributes to the point of the record. And so at this point, what I'm feeling the need to do is to go through my back catalog and understand what my motivations were and are. Because one thing that's becoming clear to me is that if your motivations are rooted in something that is toxic for you, then it's going to affect you in ways that are not in line with what my ultimate goals are in life. So by going through Infinity and recognizing that, intention and going through physicists and that intention, going through the podcast and realizing the intention with that, going through live performance, going through any of these things and trying to understand the intention will allow me to see where the moth is and what that's supposed to be. But I think I get bored of myself, and I get bored of music, and I get bored of a lot of things. So now it's really about trying to take the things that are interesting me at this point in my life and then try and apply that to the music. What's up with Use Your Delusion? Use Your Delusion, I think, would be the overarching theme for my trip. I remember wanting to incorporate that as a company name. Use Your Delusion. All right. Thank you for Teria, favorite album of mine. Looking forward to the podcast. Yeah, I'm going to do it later today. I think the biggest problem with these things is that in order for me to get through all these records and get to the point where I'm at now, after Empath, and have it make sense, it requires me to be forthright about the process. And sometimes it's dark, and sometimes it's traumatic to remember. But again, I find myself in a really interesting position in life now where I feel okay. And so I think that representing that journey, in a sense, is of importance, because there's lots of people that don't feel okay. Is a Roland GP100, thank you. Is a Roland GP100 worth buying today, in your opinion? I never use it anymore. I mean, well, that's not true. I use it, but not to the same capacity that I did. Now it's all Axe-Fx versions of those sounds, and we're going to be doing a whole pack about that. Way better. Deadhead is way better live. Okay, so for these concerts that we're going to be doing Saturdays, my idea is so we're going to release. I think we release some more virtual tickets, but the idea is I think every show should be different, like a different vibe, different song choices, and I'm going to do Deadhead on the first one, I believe. Exercising too much mentally or physically can be bad. Pace yourself. Absolutely. I think, again, when I hit midlife there, and I actually had the actual midlife crisis 2 or 3 years back where I was realizing I'm getting older and all this, I started exercising way too much, and I ended up fucking up my wrists and my knees. And I think a lot of that is because it was based on vanity. I just wanted to not look like I was getting older. So now I've certainly pulled it back, but I do think that daily exercise, or at least, several times a week, is really good for your mind as well. And I think that mental exercise, like you say, if you end up thinking about thinking all the time, yeah, that's no good. And again, that's why meditation, I find, is really helpful to me at this point, because it's almost like a discipline to stop that, overthinking tendency. Any songs that you would like to revisit, like you did recently with A New Rain? Almost Again by Strapping. All right. What's a concert you've seen that you've never forgotten? I saw Mr. Bungle with the band Grotus opening up, and the band Grotus changed my life forever. I saw the first Lollapalooza down in Enumclaw, Washington, with Roland's band and Jane's Addiction and all that, and that was influential for me because I wanted it to be better than it was. And I saw Saigon Kick when I was a kid, and it was great because they played and there was no one there, and they played great. I saw Jason recently in Florida. Had an opportunity to meet up with him and and hopefully he understands how influential that mindset was to my work at this point as well. Right. All right. What's your favorite country that you visited? Depends. I really liked China. I thought that was cool. I really liked India. I thought that was cool. I like Sweden a lot. It depends, you know. It's like I've got friends in a lot of places, and a lot of times my connection to the places that I visit are rooted in, thank you, are rooted in the experience that I have there. I was just recently in Singapore, and I really like that as well. Obviously, Wales, someone says. All right. Will there be a subscription option in the future for this? I don't know. I talked to Twitch the other day, and I don't know. There's a whole bunch of things that you have to do that. Like you have to be a partners and affiliates and all this. And I like being able to talk to people, and hopefully the idea of me talking on Twitch is it is, in addition to the podcast, a way for the whole overarching theme of what all these albums and what my work is meant to represent can be clarified. And as much as, you know, I've got the label, the management, and crew, and everything that needs to be monetized on some level, I've never been particularly good nor comfortable with that. So there's probably a subscription thing, but I haven't looked into what even that is. And it's not like I don't care, but it's similar. You mentioned a Discord. Yeah, so I'm putting together a Discord as well. And but then I just ran out of steam last week. I just didn't want to do anything. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. Even writing. I've got all this music that I've been writing, and all of a sudden just one day I was like, nah. So I took a few days off from it, and it's happening again, subconsciously. How did you find your musical way? By fucking up. Recognizing that I had made mistakes, and then learning the ways to get through it so I can hopefully use the work that I've done as some sort of help, in a sense. You know, I would like people to see that, you know, there's ways through these personal mistakes that don't involve having to spend the rest of your life depressed. Have you tried the Line 6 HX Stomp? Considering getting it soon. Yeah, it's awesome. I really liked it. It's a little box like this big, and it's got all sorts of things in it. I think the thing is, thank you for that. I think the thing is, for me, you know, I even talked to Neural the other day. Doug Castro from Neural and Dark Glass is a good friend of mine, actually. I really like that guy. And he asked me if I wanted to do a pack for Neural, like, and it would be, you know, their cabs, like what they did with Pliny and Nolly and all that. But I've got a relationship with Fractal, and that's actually what I told him too. I said, listen, man, I don't want to screw over anybody that I work with, right? It's a small industry and we all know each other. So, and it's the same thing. I work with Matt Ferguson up at Line 6, and he's been super cool with like sending me things. And, you know, I got this cab recently to run modelers through that's great. And he helped me with like wireless and all this sort of thing. But I got to be clear with these companies that I work with straight out of the gate that I don't want a conflict of interest, just because, again, you know, they're relationships more than anything else. Fractal is great, of course. So is Neural. So is Line 6. Let's see. Thank you, Debbie. All right. You described having synesthesia a lot. What are some colors that you feel represent singularity? The whole idea of empath, the whole idea of that record, like after listening to these podcasts, you'll obviously see that this this arc that my work has taken all these years has been super crazy, super intense, super difficult to work through. But I realized over the past couple of years that the only way that I was going to be able to get to the point where I feel capable and willing to participate in life in a real open and hopefully fearless way is to get past it, you know. And when I say get past it, not ignore it, but sort of take stock of it and say, okay, where did this go wrong? How did this go wrong? What part of your psychological needs played into this? And not to obsess on it either, but just to sort of, like, accountability is a huge part of this for me. And now, when I got to Empath, the whole idea of that was not to make a new record. It wasn't to be like, okay, well, like Infinity or Ocean Machine or anything, here's Empath. Empath was meant to be, lay all of these things out, all these albums, all these experiences, all these periods of your life that were fraught with the ups and downs, and just analyze your relationship to each one of them. And again, not to obsess about it, not to focus on it to the point where you're just jerking off, but say, okay, well, this is obviously there's still fear there for you. So why? And so by putting it out and looking at it, it became all the colors basically. So Empath is like yellow and blue and black and gray and red and purple and everything. But I did an interview recently where somebody asked me what was Empath meant to represent in this line of records, and I said, well, it was like there was an avalanche in the middle of the road, and I want to keep going. So in order to get through that avalanche, I just kind of had to get out a shovel and start digging through it. So Hear Me and Why and Genesis and Singularity and Evermore. All these songs are examples of just digging through the shrapnel of the past and then sort of seeing what it means to me now, right? And so moving into the Moth phase of all this whole period right now and this quarantine and all of this is actually very interesting because it really allows us to sort of be confronted by ourselves in a way. I can't recommend meditation enough. Why is it better with no pants on stage? I don't think it is. You still in touch with Annie? Yeah, Annie just sang. I did a song that I'm working on. Like, I stopped working on it last week. I just got tired of it. But I wrote a song with Steve Vai over the past couple of months, and it's really cool. In fact, I had Samus play drums on it, although it's not blasting. It's really simple stuff. And I had Annie sing on it. And now I'm just getting ready to sing on it myself, but I just haven't had the inclination to do so yet. So Annie, yeah, she sang on that the other day, and she just sent her parts last week, and yeah, she killed it, as always, right? So you don't shit your pants, you just shit the stage. Exactly. All right. Yeah, Sam's a great guy. Did you finally free Annie? No. Imagine having 6'6" Samus not doing blasts. He's good. He doesn't need to do blasts. He's good. Can you describe the process you went through to develop your vocal technique? And have you ever had a chance to sing Tormentor live with Guar? Okay. The process that I have practiced to get my vocal technique together was really... what's the best way to describe it? I auditioned singers when I was a kid, and they all drove me crazy. They all just really wanted to be seen. So I was like, okay, I don't want this person interpreting the work. So I'm just going to learn how to sing. And I was working at a restaurant. I was working at Earl's restaurant in Vancouver, and I was the dish pig. So I worked in the dish area. And then I got promoted to being a prep guy. So I would cut up the chicken and put things in bags and whatever. And when I went to the freezer, because you had to, a lot of times there's big buckets of chicken and steak and everything that you had to sort of put away in the freezer. And when I went to the freezer, I would scream. And that's how I learned to scream. So I was in the freezer because I knew no one could hear me. And I would just, at that time it was Soundgarden and Faith No More and Pantera and all these bands were popular, Jane's Addiction. And so I would just try and sing those songs, but I would sing it in a place that I knew no one could hear me, and just screaming into a wall full of chicken was really how I got my vocals together. And then I recorded that on the Noisescapes demo. And then when I came down to Steve Vai's studio, I had to actually learn how to sing, and that was like, oh shit, I actually don't know how to do this. So I learned how to sing just by doing it in public over and over. Oh, Dev screaming again. Yeah, screaming at a wall of chicken, indeed, yeah. And did I ever sing Tormentor with Guar? Yeah, I did in Vancouver. It's actually online if you look up YouTube, and it's fucking... I didn't realize, because this is... So 2006... What is that? That's... 2006 is 14 years ago? No. Is it? Yeah. Wow. And there's a video of me singing in Vancouver on stage. They dressed me up in the thing for Guar, and I was like really out of shape. I'm like way more healthy now than I've ever been. So again, 2006 was where it crested during that whole period with Guar, Alien, Synkestra, Hummer. That area was right. That was the worst of it. And so there's a video of me online singing there during that time, and you can see. Yo, Devin, I'm going bald at 20. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's a thing. And even if it's a bad thing, I don't know what to tell you, man. You can wear a wig if you want, but you're still going to be bald. I remember when I started going bald, the reason why I grew that skullet, that horrible hairstyle, was because a buddy of mine was making fun of me for going bald. Val from Zimmer's Hole. He was like trying to give me the gears about it, and my reaction to that has always been to be petulant, I think. So I grew it just to sort of be like, yeah, what do you think? I'm gonna frame it, motherfucker. And then when I got to the point where I realized that it smelled bad, I had to get rid of it. I'm 33 and struggling. How were you at this age? Struggling, of course. Life is a struggle, man. Still struggle. We're all struggling. I think the theme of Empath was, if I was to summarize it, the fact that we're all struggling. The ways that we get through it is to acknowledge that other people are struggling as well. And it's almost the strength that I feel I can accumulate from knowing that there's other people who have it worse than I, clearly, who are still hanging on. It allows that process to be seen elsewhere as well. You think you're alone, but we're all struggling, right? At every age. You see kids. You see a 6-year-old kid that, another kid at the playground knocked over his castle. That's a struggle too, I guess. So you got to keep going, man. Can't give up. Tubby Debbie was a thing, right? You just saw the video. Exactly. The angle, too. Would you jam with Mike Oldfield? I don't want to jam with anybody. That's the funniest thing about this. It's like, I think one of the things about me as a musician is I don't want to sing on anybody's record. I don't want to jam with anybody. I just don't. And there's often times where people are saying, I want you to sing on my thing, or we need to work together. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking work with anybody. And it's not because I don't It's not because I don't like it. It's just that what I'm doing is what I do. It's just what I want to do. I spent so long as a kid making decisions for myself. The life I have is the life that a 17-year-old version of Dev decided was the one to pursue. And then as you change, you start getting to the point where you are thinking, okay, well, my psychology is now completely different. So how do I incorporate this? How do I continually refine this so I can enjoy it and provide something that is fresh, not only for myself but for others? But Mike Oldfield, I mean, yeah, he's great. But any thoughts on working with Portnoy? I like Mike too. I think he's great. We had some good times together. I ruined a Dream Theater song for him on that Prague cruise. There's another thing if you want to look up. We did this tour together called The Progressive Nation at Sea. And I always respected Dream Theater, but I never listened to them, right? Thank you, man. It's just, some bands just, you didn't fall into your orbit. And Dream Theater was one for me. I never really listened to them. And so when we did that thing, he says, I want you to sing a Dream Theater song. I said, well, I don't know if you do, actually. And so he finally said, no, I think it would be cool for the audience and whatever. And he convinced me to do it. And I said, it's not in my vocal range. It's higher than where I am. And he said, okay, well, you can sing it as you can sing it as you'd like. And so I did. And that's online too. And I don't think I made a lot of fans that night. But I love Mike, and he's a great drummer. We were supposed to do things before, but again, I get asked by a lot of people if we should do a group, and I just don't want to. I know it's not to be a dick. I just don't want to. And I think anytime I've done it, when people have like gone out of their way to convince me to do it, at the end I'm just like, oh, why did I do that? What song? It's called Burning My Soul. And I called it Burning My Hole. Saw you in Chicago, and now my wife on it. And now with my wife on her birthday. Hi. What do you think the chances of you still being able to perform at Bloodstock this year? I don't know. I mean, I know it's a huge thing for Vicky, and it's her whole life, and it's everybody involved with these festivals. It's their entire world. But so many festivals have already been canceled, like Download and Hellfest and Copenhagen and all these other ones that we were going to be doing. And I wonder how responsible it is to continue doing these festivals. I would hate to be the one to let people down, but I also don't know. I mean, I personally don't see concerts going on for another year or at least close to that. So I guess we're waiting to hear, but we'll see. Or the Royal Albert Hall show is 5 years today. Time sure flies. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you for your wonderful evening. Looking forward to seeing you at Wacken. Again, I've heard nothing. I had a tour booked for Australia in September, and that got canceled. All these other festivals got canceled. I got an email from management and booking agent last week saying we're going to reschedule the Empath Volume 1 tour for September. And I just think, really? I mean, if that's where people are at that point, I can, of course. But it seems a little optimistic, in my opinion. We'll see. It's a shame about the festivals. I'm supposed to be at least half a dozen. Yeah, no, this was the biggest year for festivals in my entire career. We did, I had 28 festivals and headlining a bunch of them and all that stuff, right? So it was it's weird. But at the same time, what are you going to do? I can't be upset about that. You just have to keep going, right? And I think that my whole goals are trying to figure out, thank you for all these donations, by the way. My whole goal at this point is just trying to figure out where I'm at. So by the time I'm ready for the Moth to happen, I mean, I've been thinking about the Moth now for 3 years, but even as recently as last night, I was thinking, maybe I just won't do it. Maybe it just won't happen. And I think that's good to keep that possibility open. I've got another project I've been working on too that might happen instead, or maybe they'll both happen. I don't know. I woke up this morning with Metal Dilemma by Punky Brewster in my ears. People still talk about Punky Brewster. I know I should do a podcast on it. But I could summarize Punky Brewster in like 8 minutes for you guys. Yes! Thank you. Rancid and Green Day. Wasn't Rancid as much, but Green Day, Blink-182, both bands that I like, actually. I think both those bands were really good. But at that time, it was like the scene, right? And like grunge before it, what started happening is all people in my, when you play in a band, I'm sure you know, if you play in a band around your town, there's like the stalwarts. It's the people that are in your scene, and you see them all the time, and this is the one guy in this band, this is the other guy in this band, but what ended up happening is that whenever a new style of music became popular, there was always a certain group in the scene that would just modify their trip so they became like, that's their thing. You know, the guys that were dressed up like Nikki Sixx 2 years ago are now dressed up like Kurt Cobain, and the guys who were dressed up like Kurt Cobain are now dressed up like Green Day, and it's like, and I get it, but it's also, at that time, I thought it was worth ripping on, I guess. So Punky Brewster, because I was working at Century Media, and they gave me the opportunity. They said, we'll give you $3,000 to record a record. And I said, okay, I'll just do this one. I'll do this, I'll rip on this whole scene. And that was Punky Brewster, and it was Adrian White on drums, who was the first drummer for Strapping. Thank you for all this. And Squid on bass, and Jed playing guitar. So like, if you listen to the Punky Brewster record, like at the end of the first song, right before Fake Punk, you hear Zeppelin. That was Jed. But it's not like I don't like the Punky Brewster record. It was just it took a week and a half or 2 weeks to do. It was just, I don't remember much about it. But I'll talk about it eventually, right? Hey Dev, what's the approximate mix levels of the delay and reverb in your Axe FX signal chain for the crunch sound? I have it in two levels. I've got a volume block and a filter block that allows me to have the one that works for the main sound and the one for the feature sound. And the main sound is like, maybe it's about 9% overall. So I do an additional chain that has a volume block in it so I can adjust the overall level of these three, delay, reverb, delay, analog delay, 10-second reverb, ping pong delay. And then I have a volume block in front that I can have that down. It's usually about 9%, I guess. And then for the feature, it's probably at about 22%. What's this say? Stupid question I completely understand ignoring. Right. Have you heard Frank Zappa's Outside Now? If not, I imagine you'd find some huge love for it. I'll check it out. I have not heard it. I really started listening to a lot more Zappa when I was working with Keneally and Morgan, because they are just, brilliant human beings, and they are just very, very interested in Zappa. So I've been listening to a lot of Zappa, actually, and he's a genius. Do you write out the podcast or do it on the spot? I do it on the spot, for sure. Wikipedia, Jed Simon, Ace Longback. Yeah. We called him Ace Longback because he didn't have an ass. Instead of saying he had an ass, we just said he had a long back. Just ended. And ace freely, right? Oh, I see. I can stop this. And okay. How do you use the Ocean Machine pedal? I put it in the effects loop or in the front. I use it typically when I need to go somewhere and I just want to have a version of my sound quickly, right? Let's see. How do I reconnect with this? All right. Yes. Thank you so much for the donations. It's like, what's it like turning on stage Devin and just regular Devin? I imagine by turning on you mean like putting it into gear. Playing on stage is weird for me, I think. The thing I've been trying to figure out over the past week is what my reason for doing this is. You know, hierarchy of needs. How much of my, as a human being, my need for attention plays into this versus something else? Because I'd like to think that there's something about the reason why I'm doing this that isn't just rooted in a need to be seen or a need to be validated. And to go on stage, I'm going to have to think about that one. Because it's not like there's a switch that flips for stage. It's just, I think it's a defense mechanism. You're just all of a sudden like, okay, this is how I talk to a lot of people. Am I right for thinking there's going to be a DVD for the Empath Roundhouse show? Yeah. Yes, there is. I'm still working on it. It doesn't look right yet. It's not right yet. And I've been sort of thinking about it. But because it doesn't look right yet, I just kind of stopped working on it. I think the biggest thing that I realize about myself over the past couple of years is I need to be super engaged with things in order to do my best work. I mean, I can start things, but unless it really holds my attention, I just don't care. I think that's why it's difficult for me to work on other people's music, because it's not that it's good or bad, it doesn't hold my attention a lot of times, right? And Roundhouse, yes, it's going to come out, but I've got to figure out why it's not working, and I just haven't had the inclination to do so yet. What are a couple of steps to take yourself out of a bad funk? Go for a walk. That really helps. Push-ups, sit-ups. It's like a lot of times the bad funk for me is a product of an excess of time to stew. You know, like you end up obsessing about things in your life or people in your life or whatever. So just burning off some of that energy physically is really good. And a lot of times to start exercising when you're depressed seems like an impossible step. But it really helps. If you can force yourself just to do a bit of exercise, it really, 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 really helps. And again, I can't recommend meditation enough, especially in absence. Like a lot of times, you know, people, especially with marijuana and everything being legalized now in a lot of places, people tend to default to that. But I would really suggest looking at, as an alternative to that, for me at least, meditation has been hugely helpful, because it is the opposite. As opposed to spinning and going down these avenues that often end in making strange decisions for myself, just consciously stopping and it's almost like 5-pound weights for your brain for those of us who think too much, right? It's like a discipline. It's like, okay, just stop. Just chill. And it's hard because your brain just wants to go down these avenues thinking about food or problems or what have you, but forcing yourself to just focus on something other than your thoughts, for me, has really helped in terms of getting out of depressive frames of mind. Ghost is one of the best records for me to meditate to. Let's see, I'm just trying to weed through. Someone says they use a Headspace app for meditation. Yeah, that's a good one, actually. The only problem with, thank you. The only problem with the Headspace app for me is I end up focusing on his voice. And I also, before I started doing meditation without like a guide, like, there's a lot of guided meditations online, I would think about the voice. And, there's this one that was great, except every time she said the word nostrils, I would just like be drawn out of it. She's like, breathe in and feel the air in your nostrils. And I was like, right. How did you come up with the Hummer? And is it related to the car? I'd say it's related more to other things. No, it's humming. The idea with the Hummer was in 2006 when I was at the height of my, just like the problems had crested to me at that point. The Hummer was meant as trying to find vibrations that would obliterate that. In a same sort of sense, I guess, as the idea of meditation. It's like, how can you just sort of flatline your anxiety? It's like wiping the slate clean. If you have an Etch-a-Sketch, those things where you could draw like the, you got the two knobs and you can, Etch-a-Sketch. And at the end of it, once you finish the picture, you just take the thing and it gets rid of all of that. That's what the Hummer was meant to do for me. And in a lot of ways it worked, because the next step was Ziltoid, which was about personifying all those things that had happened into a goofy character so I could have a perspective on it. And then Devin Townsend Project started, and the whole idea with Devin Townsend Project was like, okay, you need to clarify all that. In thinking that perhaps your reason for doing it had been misinterpreted, which it had at a certain point. So the Hummer was the clear the slate and then start again. Right, let me see. Overthinking is a lot of trouble. Yes, yeah. Look up. I mean, if you're new to the idea of meditation, and it's not like you're gonna get good at it. It's not even about that for me. You'll always just be a beginner, I think. But maybe that's something about it that I also dig. But the Headspace app is good. I found that was how I started, actually. Yeah. I was told that an iPad is now, and now I know it's Etch-a-Sketch, and I'm pissed. Were you friends with Worrell Dane? Yeah, I was friends with Worrell. I've known Worrell. I knew Worrell forever. Nevermore were signed to Century Media at the same time as Strapping and Bourvoy, and actually at the apartment, at Bourvoy and Eula's apartment, Nevermore was there. I'm still really good friends with Van, and I know Jeff and all this stuff. And unfortunately, Jim has had some trials. But yeah, I knew Worrell, and I don't have many interesting stories. He had a very tragic place that he inhabited, and it sucks that he ended up losing that fight. Let's see. What do you think of Misery Signal's musicianship, like their skills? I love Misery Signals. I did the album Malice in the Magnum Heart, and I did Controller. And I tracked some vocals for Jesse on their new one, and he said he's going to send it to me this week. But they're brilliant musicians. Ryan and Brandon, they're as brothers. They were like really something else. Any chance of a Ziltoid radio revival? I'm sorry if I'm missing your questions here. There's so many here. Any chance of a Ziltoid radio revival? I tried listening to it the other night, and I think it's in the past for me. Let's see. Call of the Void is beautiful. Please do a record. Please do a record. Please do a record like that. I'd like to. I don't know if I've got enough of it. We'll see. I'm going to play again for a second here just because we're running out of desire to talk. I'm going to do the Terria podcast today. And the whole quarantine period here has been a fantastic opportunity to be confronted by ourselves, I think, in a lot of ways. And it's difficult, and there's a lot of stress, and it's hard to be, even though it's great to think, oh, you just get time off. It's not that. It's like, so I heard this period referred to today as the great pause. Like everything just stops. And I think it's really important for me, at least, to use it as an opportunity to keep pursuing this, because all through this period, all through all these records, it's about trying to find a way to be proactive in identifying the things within myself that are causing me to suffer by my own hand, and then work on sort of asking some hard questions as to how you can avoid that in the future. And if that leads to the moth, that's one thing. But if it leads to a completely different other type of music, now is the time for me to kind of figure that out. But I hope that you all can keep yourself occupied during this period, and exercise, meditation. Just, I know it's easy to sort of go straight to booze and things like this, but it's like, you know, right in the middle of a thoughtful answer. Yes, yes. What's your favorite cheese? What's my favorite cheese? My mind goes straight to smoked Gouda. Guitar cheese. That's the type of cheese. My favorite type of cheese is what I'm doing right now. It's all this stuff. If you've never had Pecorino Romano, I saw this YouTube thing I've been watching past couple days. Italian grandma cooking Italian food. Name's Gina. She made tomatoes yesterday. I watched it for half an hour. Gouda, yeah. You got any guilty pleasure albums you would like to share? Let me think. I don't think I'm guilty about any music I listen to. I love Django Reinhardt right now. And old stuff, right? Last good movie you saw. Not a huge movie fan. What have I seen recently? I saw the new Star Wars movie a couple days back, and there's another one of those. And I saw Ready Player One. It's just stuff that I've seen on a plane. I don't really watch movies. Let's see. No, I thoughts on making another fully ambient record. I don't know. I don't really plan them anymore. I just kind of follow them. And right now I'm in this in-between stage where there's things that are being suggested to me, I think, subconsciously. But there's another thing at play here that is brand new that I'm sure will play into that. And it's just a new type of fatigue for myself that I haven't participated in before. So maybe there's something to do with that too that will go into the moth. But ambient, I would love to, but I have a hard time sustaining interest. Like if someone says, do a real heavy record again, I just don't have the interest. I can do maybe one song. Do a pop record, I can do one song. Do an ambient record, I can do one song. None of these things are interesting enough to me at this point to do more than a little bit of. And I think that plays in with ambience as well. So I think at this point I'm waiting for this next sort of inclination to present itself. What's the musical direction on the moth? It keeps changing. It keeps changing. And what I'm trying to understand is whether or not my motivation for it is simply because I want to be seen as somebody who's making a musical. And if it's that, then it's not interesting enough. And I don't know yet. But I'm working on it. I want a rockabilly record. Do you see yourself making another pure metal record? Not really. I think that's the thing. Like, Empath was a lot of things in one place. But even towards the end of that, I was like, this isn't new for me. This is just a reflection on the past, right? So maybe by doing the podcast, I'll get a much better idea of where things are. Let's see. Do you think you'll re-record the song Ocean Machines? I doubt it. Just reading questions. People asking about what the next step is. I don't know. No idea. I have no idea. Biggest thing right now is getting my mind together. And I think reviewing the past is good for me. Playing guitar because I really like it is good for me. Meditation's really good for me. Exercise is really good for me. Talking to people online is good for me at this point. Because I know it's difficult, and I think it's good to be able to reach out and be with other people as well, in a sense. So what I'm going to do here, because it's Monday, it's after Easter, it's been a challenging couple of weeks. I'm going to play guitar for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to go. Let's see. You guys okay? You hanging in there? Everybody? Dev, do you consider yourself a good singer? Do I consider myself a good singer? My first reaction is no, but it's not because I feel I can't sing. It's just I struggle with it. I struggle with pitch, I think, in my mind. And it's not a natural thing. Singing isn't like a natural thing for me. It's something I really got to work on and got to focus on. So I think I'm good in the sense that I can do what it is that I need to do. But you look at Pavarotti or you look at any of these really incredible natural singers, and that's something much different than what I do. I just kind of illustrate my thoughts with the tool that I have, right? Technique is nothing without feeling. Yeah, I've got feeling, if nothing else. What's your take on the Steven Wilson track routine? I don't know anything about Steven Wilson. He seems to be very talented, though. Hey, Rachel. I'm sorry that you're missing your family. Quarantine can be difficult, for sure. I'll take another question here, and then I'll be done. Why did you re-record Truth? You'll hear when we get to Transcendence in the podcast. Because I felt like I made such a mess of things during Infinity and dragged people through so much that once I realized in the ways I had learned, and once I had sort of accepted my role in being accountable for statements that I had made, I wanted to make the idea of Infinity, or the idea of Truth, just clearer. It's never going to be the same, but I just wanted to make it clear. Change just a small amount of things in it, just to hopefully, on some very subtle level, underline what I felt I had learned by the time I got to that. Guys, take care of yourself. There'll be another podcast up tomorrow. I'm writing, I'm thinking, I'm taking it easy. Please be careful with yourself. Please be careful with your frame of mind. Don't let the darkness get you down. Try and work to take care of your own mental health during this period. Be careful with the people around you. If you're an artist, now is a great time to look at yourself, I think, on a creative level, and just figure out what it is that you want to do when all of this sort of irons itself out. I hope to be able to see you at some live shows soon, but who knows how that's going to go. And all the love and light I can muster. You guys take care of yourself, and thank you so much for your support. Don't give up, okay? See you soon.